The lawnmower sitting in your garage right now has a shorter lifespan than the one your father threw away. Think about that for a second. The machine he handed down, the one with the dented chute and the pull cord you had to yank 3 times, that thing ran for 22 years. Yours? Industry service data suggests you're looking at 6 to 8 years before you're back at the big box store, staring at a wall of machines that all look impressive and all cost more than last time. You're not imagining it. The math doesn't lie. And once you understand what's actually inside these modern mowers, you won't be able to unsee it. There was a time when buying a lawnmower was a 15-minute decision you made once per decade. You walked into a hardware store, not a warehouse, a hardware store, and the man behind the counter knew every bolt in every machine on the floor. You bought a Briggs & Stratton-powered mower with a cast-iron cylinder sleeve, a steel cutting deck that could survive a rock strike, and drive components built to tolerances that a machinist would recognize. These weren't luxury items. They were just built right. Consumer reports from that era regularly documented machines hitting the 15 to 25-year mark with nothing more than annual oil changes and a blade sharpening. That was normal. That was expected. That was the standard. Something changed in the late 1990s, and it wasn't consumer demand. It was the spreadsheet. Public companies started answering to quarterly earnings targets in a way that private manufacturers never had to. And when your engineering team is asked, where can we reduce cost per unit by 12%? The answer isn't the logo on the front. It's the parts you never see. It's the components buried inside, the ones you don't know to look for until they fail. The transformation was gradual enough that most consumers never noticed, until suddenly, they did. The machine that used to last 20 years now doesn't survive a single home sale. Start with the engine, because that's where the most damage is hiding. The engines powering most consumer mowers today are built around aluminum cylinder bores. That's the wall the piston moves against, thousands of times every mowing session. In commercial and older residential engines, that bore was lined with a cast iron sleeve, a harder material that handles heat and wear at a completely different level. Removing that sleeve saves manufacturers somewhere between $4 and $9 per unit. Sounds trivial. But when you're producing hundreds of thousands of units, that's millions of dollars in margin, recovered on your dime. An aluminum bore engine running under load will wear measurably faster. Repair technicians see this constantly. By year 5 or 6, compression drops, the engine becomes hard to start, burns oil, loses power. And the repair estimate? Often $200 to $300 on a machine you paid $400 for. Now look underneath the machine, at the cutting deck. In the 1980s and early 1990s, a residential cutting deck was typically 12 to 13 gauge steel. Heavy, yes, but durable in a way that mattered. Today, many consumer mowers ship with decks running as thin as 18 gauge, less than a millimeter of steel between your blade and the ground. Field testing shows these thinner decks begin showing stress cracks and corrosion within 3 to 5 seasons, especially in climates with wet grass or morning dew. A rock strike that a heavier deck would dent punches straight through a modern one. And here's the part that gets expensive. Manufacturers have moved to welded, integrated deck designs. You can't patch them the way you used to. A compromised deck means a new deck. A new deck on most mid-range machines runs $150 to $250 in parts alone before labor. At that point, many consumers just replace the whole mower, which is not a coincidence. The third failure point is one most people never think about until they're pushing a self-propelled mower uphill by hand. The drive system. In older self-propelled mowers, the transmission was a simple gear and sprocket assembly made from steel components you could access, inspect, and replace individually. Today's designs have largely moved to plastic gear housings with nylon drive components. Saves about $6 per unit in manufacturing. Costs you the machine. Nylon gears under sustained load, especially in summer heat, wear down and strip. The self-propel function fails, usually between years 3 and 5. A replacement transmission assembly runs $80 to $120. But here's the trap. Many of these assemblies are proprietary. You can't source them from a third-party supplier. You have to go through the manufacturer at their price or walk away. Industry data suggests a large percentage of consumers faced with this repair simply buy new. The manufacturers know this. They've run the numbers. Here's why. This is all completely intentional. The industry term is value engineering. It sounds neutral, professional. What it actually describes is a systematic process of identifying every component that can be made cheaper without the product visibly failing at the point of sale. The goal is not to build a product that lasts as long as possible. The goal is to build a product that lasts just long enough that you don't return it, but not so long that you never need to buy another one. Repair technicians have a different name for it. Consumers who've replaced the same category of machine 3 times in a decade have a different name for it too. But in corporate filings, it's optimization. In board meetings, it's margin expansion. And on your lawn, every 6 to 8 years, it's another $400 to $700 purchase you didn't plan for. And it's not just the mower manufacturers running this playbook. The big box retailers are structurally incentivized to stock the machines with the highest replacement rate because replacement drives traffic. Manufacturers that build for longevity struggle to compete on shelf space with brands that move more units per decade. The parts supply chain has consolidated around this model too. Proprietary components mean you can't easily fix what breaks, and third-party repair becomes economically unviable. What used to be a straightforward repair industry has been systematically dismantled. There are fewer small engine repair shops today than there were 15 years ago. That's not a coincidence. That's a consequence. The system has been designed, deliberately or not, to make repair feel harder than replacement. What you're really paying for when you buy a modern lawnmower isn't a tool. It's a subscription you never agreed to. Every 6 to 8 years, you re-enter the market. You spend another $400 to $700. You get a machine with the same problems, slightly different branding. Meanwhile, the commercial landscaping industry still runs equipment from the early 2000s. Walk-behind mowers built for professional use, with cast-iron sleeves, 10-gauge steel decks, and gear-driven transmissions, are still cutting grass after 15,000 hours of operation. That equipment exists. The technology is not lost. It's just not what they're selling to you. So what do you actually do with all of this? First, before you buy, search for the service manual. If a manufacturer buries it, doesn't publish it, or requires dealer access to obtain it, they're telling you something. Second, look for cast iron sleeve engines. They're available, usually on commercial or prosumer-grade machines. Yes, they cost more up front, but a machine you replace every 7 years at $500 costs you over $1,400 across 20 years. A machine that lasts 20 years at $900 costs you $900. Third, steel deck construction. Ask specifically. Many brands will advertise it if they have it. If they don't mention it, ask why. The information exists. The better machines exist. You just have to know what to look for. And now you do. If this changed how you think about what's sitting in your garage, hit subscribe. Next up, we're pulling apart the water heater industry. And what we found about those 8-year warranties is going to make you genuinely angry. Trust me, you'll want to see this.